As the development program of the United Nations, I often say we are a reflection of what a government every day has to do. When a cabinet meeting takes place, it's a whole of government approach. We can't do climate change on Monday, labor relations on Tuesday, health policy on Wednesday. Governments have to, provide leadership on a whole range of issues. The Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals that are the 2030 agenda, they are an expression of that complex challenge of how to make our economies, our societies thrive in the 21st century. UNDP, present on the ground in 170 countries, is an advisor that helps governments to address their national development priorities, energy transitions, address climate change, mobilize and leverage private financing into these outcomes. That is the kind of work that we do every day, sometimes in very thriving economies. Sometimes we have to do it in countries that are emerging from natural disasters or even from conflicts and crises. Well, the Danish people voted for a new government, and so as the United Nations Development Programme head, it is of great importance for me to establish a direct contact with the new leadership in Denmark and also with the ministers who look after both the UN in general and the United Nations Development Programme. So this morning was an opportunity to meet the new ministers, but as always also a chance to come here to UN City and to visit also this wonderful building that houses so many of the UN agencies, and particularly a very significant part of UNDP's team here in Europe. It's always a difficult question to answer because countries have such different realities, but the harsh truth is when you look at it from a planetary perspective in the year 2019, then our trajectory to move towards a sustainable development future, to meeting all the goals, is not looking so bright right now. Having said that, some countries will achieve them. Many countries will achieve many goals. But above all, we need to recognize that the pace at which we are changing is simply not fast enough. And what changes our generation from previous generations is simply that the window of time is closing. We have to make changes today that will literally influence the lives of generations to come. And climate change is just one example. But above all, I always want to take people back to the notion of development. We often say it's frustrating, it's full of setbacks, and yet the story of development over the last 250 years is a phenomenal success story. We used to be 1 billion people on the planet, and 9 out of 10 people lived in extreme poverty. Today, we are 7 billion people on the planet, and only 1 out of 10 lives in extreme poverty. We have done remarkable things across the world in moving development forward, in moving towards more sustainable and equitable development. But in many ways at the beginning of the 21st century, we also know that the way we are heading right now is taking us also into the wrong direction. Lack of equity, a lot of inequality re-emerging, and the lack of sustainability is threatening literally the future of development. So it's almost a schizophrenic kind of reality we are confronted with. But the answer is simple. Let's do more, and above all, in the United Nations philosophy, let's do it together.